Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Women in AI podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Yazmin, the Digital Content Manager here at REWORK. And just to give you a little bit of info about what you're listening to, in each episode I'll be joined by a woman or women working in artificial intelligence to discuss their current work and find out a bit more about their research and their place in the industry. Today I'll be speaking from our co-working office in East London with the founder and CEO of REWORK, Nikita Johnson, about how she started REWORK and how we're working to empower women in AI, both through this podcast as well as through the global events that we host. So let's get started. Hi Nikita, and welcome to the podcast. So let's kick off with some background about REWORK.
Hi, thanks for having me. REWORK, we're an events company and we bring together a cross-disciplinary mix of industry, startups and academia to explore the latest advancements in emerging and rapidly advancing technology. So primarily we focus on AI, deep learning and machine learning, and we look at their impact on solving challenges in society.
Okay, so we're here primarily to talk about the increase of women working in AI and to hear from some of these leading minds over the series. But before we get stuck into that, can you tell me about how you came about founding the company?
Yeah, definitely. So really it came from when I was studying a Master's in Urbanisation and Development at LSE quite a number of years ago now, and I was looking at some of the really big challenges we're going to face as the population keeps on rapidly advancing in the 21st century. So looking at issues such as sustainable cities, accessible education and healthcare, and thinking about how we're going to tackle some of these problems. And I also set up an incubator whilst studying that was really to help students and alumni at the university to get some feedback on their early business ideas. So what I wanted to do was to combine the passion and enthusiasm that came from the entrepreneurs that I'd worked with to see if we can apply that those ideas and passion to solving bigger challenges. And I wanted to do that through technology. And when I researched a bit more into different types of new technology and emerging technology coming through, I wanted to really focus on the most rapidly, exponentially advancing technologies out there because they're just rapidly advancing but also have a huge potential for impact and solving some of these challenges. So that was really where it came from, and I wanted to make sure that there was that mix and kind of a challenging audience of a mix of industry and academia plus startups.
Absolutely, and sort of from the popularity of AI and deep learning and its boom over the last few years, the growth of these summits has been exponential, and we've been lucky enough to travel all across the globe to host some amazing events and meet some fantastic women working in technology. And we actually hope to speak to quite a lot of these women over the coming months at our upcoming summits. So it would be great to hear about some of these women who will be appearing at the event. Are there a couple of speakers in particular that you'd like to mention, and are there any topics that you think that they're covering that are particularly relevant and current at the moment?
Definitely. So actually in a couple of weeks at the Deep Learning Summit in London, which we've held the past 3 years, Irina Higgins, who is somebody I've got a lot of time for, she's a research scientist at DeepMind, where she works on the neuroscience team. So her work brings together machine learning plus neuroscience to advance artificial intelligence. She's actually previously spoken at a couple of our events on early visual concept learning with unsupervised deep learning. And her talks always provoke plenty of questions afterwards, so it's really interesting to hear from her again. And then a new speaker that we've got is Faryal Bebahani. So she's a postdoc research associate at Imperial College here in London as well. She's working in computational neuroscience and machine learning in the brain and behavioural lab. So similarly, her research is focused on investigating algorithms employed by the human brain for object representation. So it's really a great opportunity to hear from these two fascinating researchers on this growing area of research looking at deep learning meeting neuroscience.
Yeah, both of their work sound super fascinating. I've actually heard Irina speak before, and I'm also really excited to hear Faryal in London next week. And whilst we're on the topic of the Deep Learning Summit, are there any other interesting topics that are going to be covered in London?
Yes, actually on the parallel track, which is on AI assistance, we're going to hear from Anne Sue. So she's a computer science lecturer at the University of London, and she's an expert in machine learning, psychology, plus behavioural change. So it's going to be fascinating to hear her talk about her current research on creating AI agents that can engage in psychologically sophisticated conversations. So I find that field fascinating, looking at how these technologies are really going to advance conversational AI. And then touching back on the Deep Learning Summit, we have another researcher from Imperial called Antonia Cresswell. So she's looking at really popular fields of unsupervised learning and generative models. So it'll be great to hear her talking about her latest research, which is actually in denoising adversarial autoencoders at the summit.
It's going to be great to have all these speakers come together in a couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to it. And sort of looking further forward into the calendar of events over the next 6 months, is there anything in particular that you think is going to be a highlight? Anything you're looking forward to there?
Something I'm really looking forward to is next month, actually, which is our first Women in Machine Intelligence dinner that we're hosting overseas. So we've previously just held them in London, but we're bringing this event to Montreal in October as part of the Canadian edition of the Global Deep Learning Summit series. So that's going to be a great evening. And then looking a bit further afield, so in January we're travelling back to San Francisco. So we'll be hearing from, well, actually we're really lucky to hear from world-renowned Coursera co-founder Daphne Koller. So she's now the Chief Computing Officer at Calico Labs, and she'll be talking primarily about machine learning tools for analysing biological and medical data sets. So that's going to be fascinating. And then touching on the AI assistants again, we're going to hear from Deepti Yenny Reddy. So she's the founder of MyAli, and she's going to be talking about building more human-centric artificial intelligence to help companies with their recruitment process.
Yeah, so it sounds like there are some really exciting women lined up to speak and appear at the events over the next few months. And as an all-female team here at REWORK, we're keen to raise awareness of women working in AI. So we'll cover researchers, CEOs, data scientists, and industry professionals across the whole spectrum, which is part of the reason why we've decided to host this podcast. So, Nikita, how do you think that having women speak on podcasts and appearing in the media is positively impacting their place in the tech world?
I think, first of all, just on the exposure level, so it's all about raising awareness and creating and providing more role models for the younger generation of women and girls to look up to. I think on a personal level, as a female founder of a company and now working in a female-led company, I was always drawn to female founders to help me really envision what I could achieve and to help me start a company from scratch. So I think it's hugely important to have people to look up to and identify with. And then also, which is just as important, I think, is creating that balance of people. So when you're creating new technology or new software, if that systems, whether it's AI or something else, are built primarily by men only or just by one group of people, then they're much more likely to create biased results. So I think whoever builds the product is going to have that representation of builders that's going to dominate. So it's hugely important that we have a mix and diverse group of people creating new technology. And then just on a more general level, I think in any circumstance, you're much more likely to come up with a better solution if you have a much bigger and diverse group of people to try and apply yourself and apply technology to challenges. So yeah, I think there's a number of different problems and solutions that we can do to help promote and encourage more women in AI.
Yeah, for sure. And as you mentioned just now about having role models and inspirations for young girls and women working in technology to look up to, is there anyone in particular that you find to be an inspiring woman working in AI?
There's a lot, but I think through the past couple of years, through our artificial intelligence focused events, somebody that's really stood out for me is Fei-Fei Li. So a lot of people listening will know that she's an assistant professor of computer science at Stanford University. And she really is a long-term supporter of more ethnic plus gender diversity in AI. So again, not just for the moral reasons, but also she's recently actually been quoted to say it's economically important to have as many people and as wide a community and network trained in computer science and AI to help us in the future effectively use that technology for a really positive impact.
So within events, AI is quite specific. What kind of initially sparked your interest in AI and what motivates you to put on these events?
I was always really interested in technology in general, but the more I researched how technology could have an impact on solving problems, I kept being drawn to the most rapidly, exponentially advancing technology. So the first events that we held actually looked at 4D printing, synthetic biology, neurotech, machine learning, and that really drew me in more and more into artificial intelligence, because the technology is so rapidly advancing, and many more people are kind of joining that community and working and researching in that field at the moment, that it's got a huge potential to have positive impacts and really infiltrate every aspect of our lives.
Amazing. Well, it all seems quite full on. So what do you enjoy doing when you're kind of not thinking about the AI events and when you're not stuck into rework and deep learning?
So I try and keep fit. I like doing yoga. It's a good way to de-stress and not think about events or tech for a while. And then also I like travelling up to the Shetland Islands, up in the far north of Scotland, to go visit my family when I can. It's a nice escape from the city and from London. It's nice to just be by the sea for a bit of a break.
Yeah, definitely. Although I can't imagine you'll have much time for that in the next couple of weeks with London just around the corner. Just to give everyone a bit of a preview about how the events pan out, can you tell us what's in store for you over the next couple of weeks in the run up to London?
Yes, so we've got a really busy couple of weeks coming up. So we're doing the final preparations for London. We've got a really great agenda for the event. We've got 2 tracks, the Deep Learning Summit and the AI Assistant Summit. So it's going to be great. We've held this event for the past 3 years, so we've been building on each year, and we've got more attendees coming this year than ever. And we've actually also got a couple of new team members that have just recently joined us at REWORK, so it's going to be great to integrate them fully into the team as well.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've come to the end of our first episode now, so thank you very much for joining me. And thank you everyone for listening to the first episode of Women in AI with myself and Nikita. If you like our show and want to know more about the advancing trends in AI, you can check out our website, which is rework.co, or leave us a review on iTunes or our website. And you can join us next time, where we'll hear from leading female minds after their presentations at the Deep Learning Summit and the AI Assistant Summit in London in the next couple of weeks.